My sister's voice came through my phone like a knife. I was sitting at my drafting table at 7:43 p.m. on a Tuesday, eating reheated pasta with one hand and scrolling my notifications with the other, the way you do when you're not really looking at anything. I had a fabric swatch pinned to the board behind me, a warm terracotta linen I'd been debating for a client's dining room, and my sketchbook was open to a page of furniture layouts, and everything in my world was ordinary. And then I pressed play on a voice memo from my sister, Claire. Vic walks around like she's some big designer now. Those little contracts. It's embarrassing. She laughed. Actually laughed. I only pretend to support her because mom expects it. If clients knew how insecure she really was, how much she second guesses every single choice, they'd never hire her. She doesn't have what it takes, and she never did. I'm exhausted performing this little cheerleader routine. I sat completely still for I don't know how long. The memo was 47 seconds long. It was meant for our mother. Claire had sent it to me by mistake. My name and mom's are next to each other in her contacts. Victoria and Virginia. She'd been in a hurry, probably. Claire is always in a hurry. I listened to it 3 times. Not because I misheard, because I needed to memorize exactly how her voice sounded when she said embarrassing. That specific note, somewhere between pity and contempt. Casual, almost bored, like she'd said it before and would say it again and had never once considered that it might reach me. I set my phone down on the drafting table. I looked at the terracotta swatch. I didn't cry. I made a list. My name is Victoria Marsh. I'm 34 years old. I am an interior designer, a sentence I spent the first 3 years of my career apologizing for, because for a long time I was surrounded by people who treated it like a hobby. I'd been working on my own for 4 years when the memo arrived. 4 years of building a client list one project at a time, a cafe renovation in Mount Pleasant, a brownstone gut renovation in Capitol Hill, a sensory-safe bedroom for a family in Bethesda whose 8-year-old had sensory processing challenges and needed a room that didn't hurt her. Real work. Documented, photographed, referenced work. I had a business license, a tax ID, a portfolio website with 37 projects, and a contact form that, in the past year, had started filling itself without me having to hustle for it. By any objective measure, I was building something. But any objective measure is not how families work. Claire is 3 years older. Claire is the one who built a company, an event production and brand consulting firm called Harlow Creative, which had 15 employees and a roster of clients in the mid-market range. Product launches, brand showcases, the kind of shiny events that get photographed and tagged by the right people. It was a real company. I'm not taking that from her. She had worked hard, and she was genuinely good at certain things. One of those things I had believed for years was being my sister. She had given me office space in the Harlow Creative building when I started out, a corner room on the second floor with good light and a shared conference space I could use for client presentations. I said thank you approximately 1,000 times in the first year. I brought coffee to the staff. I sent her flowers on the firm's anniversary. I referred clients to her when they needed event support. I told myself the arrangement was mutual. The memo told me what it actually was. The red flags were there from the start. They were just small enough that I had years of practice explaining them away. The way she introduced me at her events. This is my little sister. She's doing the interior design thing. Present tense gerund, as if I were still in the trying it out phase. I'd correct her occasionally and she'd laugh and say I was sensitive. The way she'd mention the office space at family dinners, unprompted, like a line item in a ledger only she could read. I mean, Vic is using our second floor space, so that's been helpful for her, as if it were ongoing charity, as if I hadn't offered twice to pay market rate, only to be waved off with a smile that somehow made me feel more indebted, not less. The way she talked about my projects. Oh, Vic did this cute cafe near U Street. Cute, always cute. The way you'd describe a child's finger painting. Never. Vic redesigned this cafe and their revenue went up 30% in the first quarter. That was in the owner's own words, in an email I had saved, in a testimonial on my website that Claire had never once mentioned. I forgave it as competitiveness. Siblings compete. It's normal. She was type A and drove a hard car and needed to be the impressive one in most rooms. I understood that about her. I made room for it. The memo told me it wasn't competition. It was contempt. And contempt, I have learned, is a very different animal. I made the list that Tuesday night and I didn't sleep much. The list was practical, not emotional. That's the thing about finally having proof of something you suspected. It bypasses grief and goes straight to logistics. Move out of her building. Document everything. The showcase. Claire had been planning the Harlow Creative Spring Showcase for months. It was her biggest event of the year, a curated evening for developers, residential clients, magazine editors, and brand partners all gathered to see what was happening in the DC design and lifestyle space. She'd been name-dropping the guest list at family dinners since January. I've got the acquisitions editor from Domino coming and 3 developers who are sitting on 8 figures of residential real estate. My name was not on the program. It never had been. I was adjacent to Claire's world, close enough to watch, far enough to stay small. The red circle on my calendar was 10 days out. The morning after the memo, I moved out of her building. I did it early, before anyone arrived for the day. I packed my drafting materials, my sample boards, my fabric swatches, my reference library, my framed copy of the letter from the Bethesda family that said you gave our daughter a room where she can breathe. I took everything that proved I existed in that space. I left the key card on her desk next to the ceramic vase she had once at a dinner, gestured toward and said, "That's a $400 piece, Vic. Don't touch it." No text, no explanation, no drama, just removal. Then I called Marcus Webb. Marcus Webb was the regional brand director for Kellerton Home, the main sponsor of the Harlow Spring Showcase. 41 years old, formerly with Williams-Sonoma, now overseeing Mid-Atlantic partnerships for a company that had just entered the DC residential market and was looking to make noise. Marcus and I had met 8 months earlier when I redesigned the Oleander Cafe in Shaw, which Kellerton had used as a brand activation space. He'd called the renovation the most brand-coherent retail environment I've seen at that price point, and had emailed me twice since asking about my availability for consulting. I called him at 9:15 a.m. the morning after the memo. "I want to propose a live design segment for the Harlow Showcase," I said. "My portfolio, my process, my voice. 15 minutes on stage. I'll build the segment around how intentional design changes outcomes. Not just aesthetics, but measurable results." A pause. "Does Claire know about this?" "She will. I'm coming to you first because you're the sponsor and the format decision is yours to make." Another pause. Shorter. "Send me a one-pager by end of day." I sent it at 3 p.m. One page. The cafe's revenue data, the Bethesda family's written testimonial, 2 additional case studies with documented outcomes, a proposed segment title, design with intent, 15 minutes, no fluff, results first. His reply came at 7:58 a.m. the next morning. "We love this. We think it aligns perfectly with Kellerton's positioning in this market. We'll inform your sister and update the run of show." Claire's text arrived at 9:12 a.m. "Heard you're presenting. Interesting. Don't screw this up." I put my phone face down and went back to my sketches. I want to be honest about the week that followed, because I think the way I describe it matters. I was not calm. I was not some ice queen executing a perfect plan with no turbulence. I was scared. I had moved my office into my apartment, which meant my dining table was now a drafting table, and I was sleeping maybe 5 hours a night, and I had replayed the 47-second memo so many times that I could hear it without pressing play. Those little contracts. Embarrassing. I only pretend to support her. I called my therapist, Dr. Nina Osei, who has a practice in DuPont Circle and who has known me for 3 years. When I played her the memo over the phone, she was quiet for a moment and then said, "Victoria, how long have you known this was true?" I didn't answer right away. "A while," I finally said. "And now you have proof." "Yes." "What are you going to do with it?" "I'm going to show people my work," I said, without her narrating it. Dr. Osei was quiet again. Then, "That's the right instinct. Be careful that showing your work is the goal, not hurting her." It was both, honestly. I won't pretend otherwise, but the work came first. I also spoke with my attorney, Diane Cho, who handles my contracts and IP and the occasional client dispute. I called her not to take any action, just to ask one question, the voice memo. What were my rights if I chose to share it? Diane's answer: "Maryland is a one-party consent state. The memo was sent to me, unsolicited. I had no legal exposure. That said," she added, "think carefully about what you actually want here. There's a difference between protecting yourself and going to war." I told her I understood the difference. I sat with the memo on my phone like a card I might never play. Claire called me the evening before the showcase. I stared at her name on the screen for 4 rings before I picked up. "We need to go over logistics for tomorrow," she said. No hello, no acknowledgement of the fact that I had moved out of her building 6 days ago without a word, or that we hadn't spoken since the text about not screwing up. "Okay," I said. "You're on at 8:20, 15 minutes. Marcus has the AV set up. Give him your deck by 6x. Keep it tight. The audience is sophisticated. They just want to see beautiful spaces and feel inspired." I said, "I've got it." "And Vic?" A pause. "Just keep it professional. This is my event, my client relationships. I need tonight to go smoothly." Her voice was controlled, the voice of someone managing a situation they hadn't wanted to create, which I found interesting, given that she was the one who'd created it. "Claire," I said, "the segment will be great, I promise." She hung up first. I sent my deck to Marcus at 5:45 p.m. the next day. Then I added one slide. The Harlow Spring Showcase was held at the Meridian, a venue in Logan Circle with exposed brick walls and a skylight that did very flattering things to photographs. Claire had outdone herself. Warm lighting, a dozen tabletop vignettes from partner brands, a printed program on textured cardstock, servers in cream linen moving through the crowd with wine and small plates. By every visible metric, it was a beautiful event. I arrived at 7:30 p.m., approximately 160 people in the room. I spotted the acquisitions editor from Domino near the windows, 3 people I recognized from a real estate developer's Instagram. The room she had spent years filling with people who only knew me through her filter. Claire found me at 7:41. "You look surprisingly put together," she said, sweet smile. Eyes moving quickly over my outfit. Black wide-leg trousers, a fitted ivory blouse, my grandmother's gold earrings, a quick professional once-over designed to register and dismiss. "You did a great job with the event," I told her, because she had. She moved closer, lowered her voice. "Just follow the script. Keep it light. Pretty pictures. These people don't need a TED Talk. They need to feel inspired and go home." She tilted her head, the gentle with the fragile tilt I had been receiving my whole life. "You're here because I allowed it. Try not to forget that." She walked away before I could answer. Allowed it. She actually believed that. I stood there for a moment. I breathed. I found Marcus near the stage and gave him a thumbs up. He gave me one back. I got a glass of water, not wine, and I waited. At 8:17, the MC called my name. I walked up the 3 steps to the stage and the room was full and bright, and I could see all 160 faces turn toward me, and my hands were steady. I noticed that. I had expected them to shake. I showed them the Oleander Cafe first. Before photos, after photos, photos, and then the revenue numbers. Annotated, source, displayed on a clean white slide. First quarter sales up 31% post-renovation. Owner attributed increase to improved customer flow and dwell time. The room leaned forward slightly. That collective tilt of people recalibrating their expectations. Then the Bethesda family. I didn't show their faces. I'd asked permission, and they'd said to protect their privacy. But I showed the room, the muted color palette, the tactile wall panels that gave their daughter something to press her palms against when she was overwhelmed, the built-in window seat where she now did her homework every afternoon. I read one line from their letter. For the first time, our daughter asked if she could have a friend over. The room was quiet in the way rooms get quiet when something real has entered them. Then I clicked to the next slide. No photograph, no color palette, no before and after. Just words, centered on a white background. When support isn't really support. I felt the room shift. I felt at the periphery of my vision, a movement near the left wall. I want to talk about something we tend to avoid at polished events like this, I said. My voice was level. I was grateful for it. What happens when the people closest to you, the ones who claim to be in your corner, are actually invested in keeping you small? A murmur moved through the crowd. I spent 4 years working out of a space someone gave me, and I was grateful for it, genuinely. But the cost wasn't rent. I paused. The cost was the story that came with it. The narrative that I was a side project, that my work was cute, that I was still trying out this design thing, that I should keep it light, keep it small, and stay grateful. The heels started. I heard them before I saw her. The specific sharp rhythm of Claire moving through a room fast, cutting through the crowd from the left side toward the stage. For a long time, I continued, I told myself it was just her personality, just competitive, just the way some families work. I kept my eyes on the audience. Then I received a voice memo that wasn't meant for me. The heels stopped. In my peripheral vision, Claire appeared at the edge of the stage, arms folded, face doing something I had never seen it do before. Not the controlled, managing expression I knew so well, but something raw and alert, like an animal that has just understood where it is. Okay. Her voice cut across the room, sharp and final. It hit the live microphone and bounced off the brick walls. That's enough. Every face in the room swung toward her. We are not turning my event into your therapy session. I looked at her, directly, for the first time in 10 days. This is exactly why I'm speaking now, I said calmly. Because for years, you talked about me to other people instead of to me. My hand rested on my phone at the lectern. I have the recording. The room inhaled. One collective breath held. Her face flushed. It was one moment. People vent. You don't get to. You told our mother my contracts were embarrassing, I said. You said that if clients knew how insecure I really was, they'd drop me. You said you only pretended to support me because she expected it. I let each sentence land separately. You said those things out loud, in your own voice, and I have heard them. Silence. Not polite silence. Not the silence of an audience waiting to be entertained. The silence of 160 people deciding something, reweighing something, running a quiet calculation about what they had and hadn't been told about the woman standing at this lectern. I'm not playing the memo, I said. I don't need to. I looked at the room. The developer who had been introduced to me twice as Claire's sister and promptly forgotten me. The editor from Domino who I had seen at 4 of Claire's events and who had never once been directed toward my portfolio. The brand managers, the architects, the clients I had dreamed about reaching for 4 years while standing slightly behind my sister at her events. I just needed you to see my work, I said, without her narrating it. The first clap came from the middle rows, a single person, then another, 2 seats over, then a third from near the back, then the whole room. Not polite applause, not the reflexive appreciation of a captive audience. The real kind, the kind that starts uneven and builds because people are joining it on purpose, because they have decided something and they are expressing it with their hands. I did not look at Claire again. I thanked the room. I thanked Marcus and Kellerton. I said if anyone wanted to talk about their next project, I would be near the terracotta vignette on the east wall for the rest of the evening. I walked off the stage. The Domino editor, whose name was Priya Menon, found me at the vignette at 9:04 p.m. She was sharp-eyed and unhurried, the kind of woman who has sat through 1,000 pitches and has a very finely calibrated tolerance for wasted time. She looked at me for a moment before she said anything. The Bethesda project, she said. Is it documented well? Process photos, client interviews? Yes, I said. All of it. I'm doing a September feature on designers working at the intersection of function and emotion. I'd like to talk. She handed me her card. Personal email, not the editorial submissions address. Call me this week. I took the card. My hand was steady. I didn't speak to Claire that night. I watched her from a distance for about 20 minutes. She worked the room the way she always did. Graceful, controlled, moving from cluster to cluster with her wine and her laugh and her 20 years of knowing how to hold a space. But something was different. There were pauses where there hadn't been pauses before. People were polite, but the conversation moved differently, and I watched her notice it the way clients notice, mid-presentation, that the layout isn't working, that quiet recalibration, that micro-expression of someone adjusting a story they've been telling themselves for a long time. I stayed at the terracotta vignette until 10:15 p.m. I had 11 conversations. 4 of them exchanged cards with me. 2 asked about my availability. One of them was the developer who had, 8 months earlier, been introduced to me as Claire's sister and forgotten me within the same sentence. He remembered me now. Claire texted at 11:48 p.m. I was in the back of a rideshare, shoes off, head against the window. That was a spectacular betrayal, Vic. I hope hope it was worth it. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed, "You told mom I was embarrassing. You said you only pretend to support me." A pause. That was the betrayal. I just stopped pretending I didn't know. I put my phone away and watched the city go past. 3 months later, Priya Menon's feature ran in Domino. The title was Designing for the Whole Person. The Bethesda project led. 4 pages, with the window seat photograph I had taken myself on a Tuesday afternoon when the light was coming in right, and the little girl who lived there was pressing her palm flat against the tactile panel with her eyes closed. Her parents had approved that image specifically. They said they wanted people to see what peace looked like in a room. My business phone rang 14 times the week the issue dropped. I counted. Claire and I have not spoken since the night of the showcase. Not really. There was one phone call in the first week, 22 minutes of her alternating between anger and an apology that kept attaching conditions to itself, and me listening, and finally saying, "Claire, you can either be sorry or be justified. You don't get to be both." She hung up. I haven't heard from her since. Our mother called me 3 weeks later. She had listened to the memo. She was quiet for a long time before she said anything. "I want you to know," she said, "that I never asked her to perform anything for you. I know, Mom, and I'm sorry I didn't see it." I sat with that. "I didn't see it either," I said. "Not all of it. Not for a long time. She asked if I would come to Sunday dinner. I said yes.